All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown. All three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Now, today I'm going to be reviewing the brand new novel that came out about a week ago by Christopher Paolini. It is called Murtagh, or Murtagh. I don't know how to pronounce that. In fact, I don't know how to pronounce many of the names in this book, although I do love all of the names in this book. That's one of Christopher Paolini's strengths, is the way he names the different places and characters in this book. And we'll get into that in a little bit here in a second. But let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. I love a beautiful looking book, and they just don't come any better than this. We've got a great illustration by John Jude Palancar, who did the illustrations for these other 4 books in the Aragon series. Like I said, this is a sequel to these 4 books, sort of a spin-off novel. It's about Murtagh, one of the side characters slash semi-main characters that was in these 4 books, and gets his own novel from his own perspective, and I really, really, really liked it. So, not only, I mean, you know, we've got the, and I love the John Jude Palancar covers. They're just so gorgeous, all of them. Absolutely spectacular. This one of the best. And also, the book is really well designed. It's got a lot of kind of cool things, like the end papers. It's got little illustrations throughout. It's got a bunch of maps. Maps are sprinkled through here everywhere. Just all sorts of maps everywhere like that. There's probably a half a dozen or more. So it's a really well put together book. I liked it a lot. Now, truth be told, Christopher Paolini, I have met the guy, hung out with the guy at several Comic-Cons, signed books next to the guy, done writing panels with him. He is just one of the nicest guys in the business. I have enjoyed his company, and in fact, I gave him signed copies of my books, and he, you know, of course, gave me signed copies of his. And you know, I love showing off my signed books, and so, you know, one of the nicest guys. In fact, one of the first guys, when I got published with my books, Christopher was one of the first guys that I met at one of the first signings and big Comic-Cons I did, which was Phoenix Comic-Con. And, you know, I was a little bit lost, and he kind of, you know, introduced me to people and everything. My personal experiences with the guy are not going to affect this review at all, because I love the book, and I love, if I'm reviewing a book on this channel, you know it's because I love it. I only give positive reviews. I'm here to promote books, promote reading, and this book is dynamite. It was just what the doctor ordered for me, because it was a simple fantasy adventure, PG rated, because I had just gotten done reading a string of pretty R-rated grim books, most notably the book I reviewed yesterday, which was Stephen Donaldson's book number 3 in his science fiction Gap cycle, which is one of the darkest book series you're ever going to read. So when I picked up this, and it just took me back into a sort of PG rated, fun fantasy adventure with good characters that have good hearts, that mean well. And yeah, they're fighting evil, and there's evil things happening, but you're not just getting bludgeoned over the head with it, if you know what I mean. It harkens back a lot to, you know, when I was young and I was reading The Sword of Shannara and the Shannara trilogy, or I was reading, you know, David Eddings or Raymond Feist's Rift War, or even Dragonlance. Those were kind of fun fantasy adventures of a PG-rated nature. This is what you're getting here, and it was just the thing for me. It was just what I needed. Once in a while, you pick up a book, and it is maybe something that you just, you know, maybe ho-hum your way through one day, but you pick it up on the right day, and it's dynamite, and it's everything you needed right at that moment. Okay, so let's talk about Murtagh, the main character. So Murtagh and his dragon Thorn. They are the heart and soul of this book, their relationship. They can talk back and forth, even at a distance. They can talk back and forth. That's the heart and soul of this book. Now, these two characters are looked upon with scorn in the land. They've sort of put themselves out on to a sort of self-exile because they know that just they are suspicious. Everything about them is a little sus since the events that happened in these 4 books, which I will not spoil for you. Were they helping the evil Dark Lord in these 4 books? Or were they helping our hero Aragon in these 4 books? And what did they do to make everybody suspicious of them, and why they would try to travel in exile? Well, I won't spoil that if you haven't read those. If you have read those, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, these 2 characters sort of go on this adventure, and it's not plot heavy. It's not a plot heavy adventure at all. It's just a simple quest, dare I say, and even a bit of a coming of age tale. Like Aragon in this series was a coming of age tale for the young Aragon. This book felt structurally like a coming of age tale for the main character Murtagh and the Dragon Thorn, even though they are both adults. Well, he's an adult human. I'm assuming Thorn is an adult dragon. Don't know. But it felt like a bit of a coming-of-age quest adventure tale. Simply told. You don't have to have a PhD to read this. You don't have to study this hard like you do if you're reading Malazan Book of the Fallen. It just flows effortlessly. The story just flows effortlessly out of Christopher Paolini, out onto the page. And it's like a sprinkling. There's just a great... I like the names. Like I said, some of the names of the characters and places harken back to like Galbatorix and the dragon Shrukan or whatever it is, Shruikan. I don't know how to pronounce any of them, but they harken back to me to some of those 1980s fantasy movies, like Galbatorix. That's straight out of a fantasy movie like Dragon Slayer or Willow. It's just straight out of that. But Christopher Paolini has also sprinkled in a little bit of Tolkien-like language and naming conventions too, where the names are very elegant. They're very, like, you can know that he's like tried to make these names sound good as they roll off the tongue, even though I'm going to pronounce some and they're going to roll off my tongue like absolute. I know what he was after. Like, there's the Eldunari, the Alagacia, the Gilead, Du Elden, Varden, Trondheim, Eisenstar. I mean, there's a lot of names in here where you can tell that Christopher Paolini is using his love of the fantasy genre and paying a loving homage to Tolkien with this kind of stuff. He's paying a loving homage to all the books that came before that he read. Even, if you look at the map, like John Jude Palancar was the artist that did these covers. If you look at the map, there's a place on the map called Palancar. In these books, there's a character named Brom, and I do believe that is after Gerald Brom, the great fantasy artist. So at every step of the way, Christopher Paolini is really paying tribute to the fantasy that he loved, that we all love. And if you read carefully enough and you're steeped in fantasy lore and the history of fantasy books like I am, you just pick out these things like that. I appreciate it. I absolutely do. So, what is the story? Like I said, it's not much of a plot-driven story. It's more of a simple quest adventure, coming-of-age tale with Murtagh and the dragon as they go out into the world, sort of in a self-exile. Suspicion clouds at their every move. Everybody's a little bit wary of them. They're trying to kind of go on the down low most of the time. And it's just a straight quest-like journey. And I think one of the reasons it's not too plot heavy is because all the stuff that's going on in here as it sort of goes from one event to the next, it's building up a case for what I hope are upcoming books, if that makes sense. Yeah, not previous books, but books that will be written after this, sequels to this. And if you're looking for characters other than Murtagh and the Dragon Thorn, if you're looking for characters from this series to be in this series, slim pickings. I'll just say slim pickings. There is a bit of that, but I think I'm hoping, and this is what I'm hoping that there's a few more books in this series, and eventually they might kind of converge together to complete a whole. That's what I'm hoping. I don't think I really did a great job of describing any of this. So let us read. The world is no longer safe for the dragon rider Murtagh and his dragon Thorn. An evil king has been toppled, and they are left to face the consequences of whatever they were involved in with that. Okay, I don't know, that because a little spoilery. Now they are exiled to the outskirts of society. Throughout the land, hushed voices whisper, a brittle ground and faint scent of brimstone in the air, and the Murtagh senses that something wicked lurks in the shadows of Alagacia. So begins an epic journey into the unknown, as Murtagh and Thorn must find and outwit a witch veiled in mystery. That's pretty much it. So I like Murtagh, the dragon rider, and his dragon. I liked the story. It was exactly what I needed, right when I needed it. So I'm going to give this a solid 9.5 out of 10. It was a really, really, really enjoyable, fun, and fast read.